Ageless Energy Radio. How to feel 22 at any age. Would you like to feel young and vibrant regardless of your age? Never have to call in sick again. Be laser focused and productive all day long. Stop feeling stressed out by your life. Stay calm and confident no matter what. Go to bed feeling peaceful and wake up energized? Ageless Energy is healing your self-generating energy systems through the renewal of your body, mind, and spirit for complete wellness without artificial stimulants or medication. Would you listen? Anyone who wants to feel young, ageless, and productive, regardless of their years. Join your host, Dr. Chandler George, as we explore your mind, body, spirit to feel 22 at any age.
Hey, this is Dr. Chandler George of Ageless Energy, How to Feel 22 at Any Age. And today my special guest is Greg Willis, a.k.a. Gravity Man, runner along with Alan Scher of the Day Spa and the International Med Spa Association, and just overall good guy to his wonderful wife and his two boys. So welcome, Greg.
Well, thank you, Chandler. And it's a pleasure to join you on this now that we've seen each other and you've talked about this last time we saw, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you so much. And if you don't mind, since this is a mind, body, spirit podcast here, Greg, and I think you're accurately situated for this, and we've just had the 4th of July, explain what is going to be in everyone's mind, which certainly can relate to mental and maybe even body. Tell me how you became a Marvel comic superhero.
Yeah. It's funny because it's fun to be asked that, because most of the time I'll find a way to wedge it into any conversation. So,
so you were going to do it anyway. So I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, it would have came up. It would have came up. No, so when I was growing up in northern Wisconsin, a little small tourist town, one of my friends who was a few years older, his parents owned a hardware store, and they gave him a little section of it to run his own comic book shop, and that's how my brother and I started reading comics and loved it. And we continued to be friends with this guy, and he ended up becoming an author for Marvel Comics. Actually, his very first independent comic series, he named a character after my brother. I benefited from being later on because I was in Marvel. My brother was just in an independent one. So it's fun. Yeah. So
you'll be in a future movie. I'm talking to a future movie star.
Well, the likelihood of that is pretty small. So he created this character with this artist named Mike Norton, and they called him Gravity. And his alter ego is Greg Willis from a small town in Wisconsin. So it impresses my children. It doesn't really impress my wife, because she will still say, I don't care if you think you're a superhero, you're going to help me vacuum today, or whatever it may be. So it doesn't go much further than geeky things being like.
Well, maybe not at home, but the fact is we can Google Greg Willis and I don't get anything. But I Google Greg Willis Gravity Man, and all of a sudden I got Wikipedia pages and fandom pages. And I mean, who has that except for superheroes? I mean, no one has that. You do. That's cool.
And it's funny because I have a roommate of mine that I had years ago who lived with my brother and I and some other friends. His name is Justin, and John McKeever did the same treatment to him. So if you Google his name, you're only going to find his comic book character as well. So it's pretty funny. Yeah.
You know what? One of the tenets of mind, body, spirit, of course, is you got to have fun. You got to laugh, and laughter creates endorphins and enkephalins and makes everybody feel better and have more fun and everything. And you have attached to you a really cool thing that makes everybody curious and laugh and have fun. And so instantly you're able to make everybody feel good. And that's one way to help everybody feel like they're 22 or in your case, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years old even, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It has been a lot of fun, just to, have that and kind of attach that to conversations if I'm meeting people or those kind of things.
I can't believe I knew you for years before I actually saw, the real Gravity Man. I just didn't know that. I didn't even believe it at first. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to know he's real. And he may be using his special powers, but we got him on the show today somehow. So
if you don't catch me, I'll probably be saving the day elsewhere,
I mean, right now he's grounded and not using his gravity powers, but later he could be floating around anywhere. Just watch out. Now to explain a little bit, you do some work with Alan Scher, the Day Spa and the International Med Spa Association. Explain a little bit about that and maybe where people can get some more information about the Day Spa or Med Spa Association. And then let's relate it to what you think the biggest proponent is that you do in relation to either mind, body, or spirit for your participants and businesses.
Well, you can find the DSA, Day Spa Association, and IMSA, International Medical Spa Association, under the banner now of the Spa Industry Association. So that's kind of how we were rebranding or reaching out a little bit further so people don't get confused with, oh, I thought you were day spas only. So, but no, many people in the spa industry are familiar with Alan Scher. He's at almost every trade show in the industry. So I'm kind of the guy behind the curtain of the Spa Industry Association, help with a lot of the background website things, making sure our new members are in the database. And so now I've been with him, I think, 11 or so years. So we know each other's routine. And yeah.
Well, they always say every hero has a superhero behind him, right? And so if Alan is the front man hero, then you are the superhero. And maybe that's why you gotta be Gravity Man, because Alan moves so darn fast. If you weren't Gravity Man, you couldn't keep up.
Right. So it's kind of like Batman and Robin, and we'll probably always argue who's Batman and who's Robin. So
yeah, we all want to be Batman.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, he got the girl. I don't know if Robin ever got a girl. I just don't know if that ever happened. I felt sorry for him a little bit.
Yeah, right. He was always, oh, poor Robin kind of thing. Yeah.
Hey, but I kind of think that's what the spa industry is. I know, having a med spa myself and growing up in the spa industry with my mom, she had a skincare line and did electrolysis and then later on laser hair removal. I was probably the only teenager that was getting, his unibrow taken care of with electrolysis at 16 and didn't have a choice but to have hair taken off of me, which I didn't think was macho when I was playing football. But at least some of my girlfriends got to be in pictures and be models and stuff for all the branding and stuff she was doing. But it didn't dawn on me then, except that it was pretty relaxing, and I'm always kind of hyper, that when I was laying down, this was before microdermabrasions, they would have these volcanic-like devices, Greg, on my face. They'd wrap me up, pull out the impurities and all that junk. It's probably why I never had any zits. And put this electronic volcanic device that looked like a volcano that sucked the life out of your face, supposedly. And that was pre-micro. All I knew is I fell asleep, and it was pretty chilling for a kind of a hyperactive kid. So I always see the spa world, having been a part of it as a kid and then growing up in it, as a relaxing endeavor. So maybe even a spiritual deal in the fact I could zone off mentally into another place. But as I get older, I think it's a place that you go, like today, I get a massage at 7. I'm really stoked. I mean, I got a text about it. So it just makes my day, because I know I got an hour and a half with Laura, and she's an excellent massage therapist. And we're going to have great conversation, and I'm going to get a lot of energy from it too. And I will feel, maybe 25, not 22 when I get out, right? So what do you see as some of the things they might need to help them create better mind, body, spirit relationships to their customer base to help them grow? Because obviously you're in the business of supporting them.
Sure. With our association, what we're trying to do is give spa owners, salon owners, resort owners, whatever it is, means to connect to the industry, means to find education that's suitable to them, and we nurture that.
Yeah, I can see it being more relationship-based, because I think it's one of the few industries where, in fact, people get into it not for money first, or for a business model first, but really for the mind, body, spirit. They get into it because they had an awesome experience on a cruise ship, or it was the only way they could unplug in this crazy world, unlike the old days when we grew up on farms or whatever. And so because they had a positive experience where they were 5 sensing the smells as part of the Ageless Energy tenets, the tea rose smell or whatever, the white tea, and the sensations and the right Zen music and all that sort of stuff, which allows them a break from their everyday world. And it's okay, because they're paying for it, to not have their cell phone and be plugged in, or their little computer really, and they can have that mind, body, spirit. But they got into it for themselves, and they go, oh, the only way to stay in this industry is I somehow need to at least break even and play in it so that I can keep doing this for life, right? Would you say that's true for a lot of them?
Absolutely. And I think, too, a lot of the owners, once they kind of get into the business side of it, and then they know how to, make their treatments specific around certain things or that geographical area they're in or whatnot. And I think the spa industry exists because humans have this inherent knowledge that they have to relax. And I think every spa that I've been to, when you walk in, you're like, okay, I know I'm going to leave here really calm. And the spas that get it right are the ones who really nail it, and they know. Yeah, the experience of the patron and even the people working there. More than anywhere else, is they experience the relationship, or I know if I get a massage, if they're nervous or where their headspace is at, your treaters, because you feel it in your body, right? You feel the energy of the vibrational sense if they're in the right place. It's where everyone has to be truly authentic. There's no fake in it, because everyone's going to know. I mean, everyone has to be on the same wavelength.
mentally for the mind-body treatments to work. So what is your favorite treatment as a man?
That's funny. When I'm mainly in a spa, I like to just have my personal space, and there's the salt rooms where you can kind of basically fall asleep because it's so relaxing. But, I would say traditionally massages, you can go in for a quick massage or you can have the longer one. It doesn't take up too much of your time if you don't really have the time for it. But,
yeah, and I'm sure you need more. We all need more. What would you say that a woman's favorite treatment would be in general, since you have access to a large database?
Well, the advent of all the, there's always new skincare coming out. So I think like a combination, when you get like the massage as well as having a facial.
So let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, I think I know why. But maybe that's just because I think I know why. It doesn't mean I do. But I think because it's closer to your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, and they're using all kinds of cool lotions and potions and good smell-ums and all kinds of stuff. I mean, because I had a med spa, so that was my favorite thing too, was to get a facial, because first off, it's intimate. Other than my feet, I think it's the most intimate I can be with somebody and stay happily married to my wife, and it'd be okay. And besides the intimacy, I think it evokes more of your senses. And when it's over, you just, oh my gosh, maybe, and a lot of times I know as a chiropractor, when I was going through school, I think people tried to marry me just because I was a chiropractor for that very reason. They want to marry that feeling,
Right. See, man, my wife married me because I'm 6'3" and she's 5'2". I think that might be the big reason, so I can reach things in the kitchen.
There you go. Yeah, she's thinking ahead of time, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
She's thinking, I want to get squished in this world. He's big, and he's gravity man, too. I mean, he can do all kinds of stuff. So did she know that before you married her?
It's funny. I think we were either engaged or dating when I had found out. So she was stuck with it no matter what. Part of the package, yeah. Oh, there's so many things we could do with that. I'm just afraid to go there. But there's so many things we can do with that just sounds so much fun. So let's get back to the mind, body, spirit, which is, how are you going to feel 22 or regenerate your energy systems, the renewal of body, mind, spirit. What do you see in the med spas now, the doctor-driven facilities that just happen to have a spa component, that would affect the mind more than anything else? Well, that's funny because there's a lot of gray areas on what exactly medical spas do or what you're going to find on their menu. Not just deal with like the skin or your body or, and getting treatments on that to look better. There's oxygen chairs where they're rocking back and forth and they guide you through this breathing technique. And I did it. I tried it out and it was really amazing. I didn't want to.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was so amazing that if anybody's interested in that oxygen therapy chair treatment that was guiding you through better breathing, contact me at support@catchfirecoaching.com. And I'm actually a driver now of that machine. I was that impressed. It was an impressive thing for the mind body. I agree. And then the devices you've seen us have out there before in booths in past years, Greg, is I call it the Ageless Energy tool or the master key, but it was lights and voices guiding you, but using the beats to guide you through the alpha, beta, zeta of the brain waves to leave you in a high state or a low state or wherever you needed to be to treat your brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And zeroing in on those things, like how certain, like you just mentioned, how certain music can literally change someone's behavior.
It's changing the behavioral states. Yeah, one of my favorite people, of course, is Tony Robbins, and followed him my whole life and been to most of his conferences and things and many of those other guys. And it's changing the behavioral states of consciousness using music, lights, languaging, and all this to come to a certain outcome. Whatever that person may need, you can actually help them get to that particular outcome. It's not necessarily behavioral modification, but it's a combination of things. So it's almost that spas, med spas in particular, have become almost like a counseling place. But instead of someone sitting there talking to you back and forth with dialogue, it's an internal dialogue that mentally they can get you into that state. So if it's personal achievement to go climb the mountain or be a gravity man and scale the mountain by never touching the ground and just flying up or whatever it is, or bringing yourself down, we have now the tools, don't we, in the day spa industry to be able to take you there. I think the mental aspect of it is really the unknown frontier that we can go further than we realize using these basically new but beginner techniques, because I think they're going to get way more sophisticated, of combining lights and energy and frequencies and all this to help our brains to get to certain places. And then alternatively, even though we had to go there because this is about Ageless Energy, how to feel 22 at any age, but you think of that young man that came back from North Korea and then died a week later and he was in a coma. What type of psychological stuff they must have done to him to basically shut his brain waves off over the course of a year, and he was just a walking corpse, right? So it can be used for good and or for evil, and hopefully we want it for good. But that's what I see the medical spas now able to do more than ever before and help with autistic children and help ultimately with learning and everything else, because it allows that child or kid to then focus and do what they otherwise couldn't do. I know because I was that child, probably that adult. You know what I mean?
I think more and more focus is going in on PTSD because it's been such an issue with, especially like our veterans and whatnot. I think that could be something that they're going to focus more and more on.
Yeah, and so let me give you a device that you don't see in the spa industry all that often, but yet it would certainly work. I was fortunate when I was in Mineral Wells, Texas, to work with a researcher and his wife, and they own AlphaStim. They'd come out of LA and their factory and everything is in Mineral Wells, and AlphaStim actually works directly with PTSD, and they have contracts with the government and do a lot of this. And of course, their head of marketing happens to be my wife's cousin. So we stay up with them. And we knew the owners when we actually lived out there, and I was still a practicing chiropractor. But it'll take that brain and work on it. It works through the ears and it has clips and does various things. And it's called AlphaStim if anybody wants to research it, or if you have any more questions, again, email us at support@cashflycoaching.com, because we have relatives working there. But 25 years ago, I was also working with them. Me and my brother were kind of guinea pigs with our own patients with that. But they've really taken off to do with the government working on the PTSD. So it's interesting that you brought that up. And it's just a little handheld device, like an iPhone 4. It's not even that big, but it totally makes a major difference. And I know whenever people go through major crises that we immediately will put that on them, like a death of a loved one or something like that that's traumatic or something in particular. And that's something the spa industry could easily have in their spas, and, $200, $500, it's an inexpensive thing that they could either treat in their office, or if the people are trained right and the laws allow it, then they could even sell it. And a lot of people don't know about that. I think that's because they focus traditionally under hardcore medical places and government, as opposed to spa, which seems to loosey-goosey or lovey-dovey or whatever. But as we're talking here, the spa industry, the day spa industry, encompasses more and more dentists and chiropractors and medical doctors and all kinds of physicians all working together to help people feel 22 at any age or have that mind-body-spirit relationship. They may not know that. They don't know that's what they're doing, but that's what they're doing, because that's even where they'll get their friends, right? And they'll meet the other men or women there. I know I have a friend, he's in anti-aging medicine doing prolotherapy, but for many, many years, we would just meet him and his wife in Vegas, and the whole point of the whole trip was so we could go get massages at the world's best places. Experience the spa, which he taught me because I didn't know. I was like, really? That's how this works? So yeah, I think it's absolutely fascinating. So I think you have one of the better opportunities in the world, because you get to take part in all that and get to see the changes in all the people, which is probably why you're always in such a great mood. And I'm sure there's other reasons too, like a wonderful family.
Well, that's always top of the list. Yeah. But it's hard. It's funny because when we see each other, it's always at a trade show, but those are generally like fun environments.
And two different types of energies too. And you're right. Where else can you go in the world except those types of conventions and have that? You sure don't get them at doctor conventions. They're just, everybody's, I can say this because I am one, but we're usually just trying to impress each other. At the spa world, it's more about how you look. In the doctor world, it's more about what they think that maybe you don't.
Yep.
And so that brings up another thing here, and I know we're going to run out of time. I always do. We have so much fun. Is people will do anything to drive their certainty in life. And if they can get certain core elements in their life to show up, then that makes them feel like they're 22. That makes them feel ageless. That makes them feel their power. And in the spa industry, I notice this many times, and I'm guilty too, how you dress, right? And how you look and how you portray. That's on the outside. We're not really interested in what you think. But certainly on the outside, it's a big deal in the hair side. And I go to doctor conventions and they look like hell, let me tell you. But they are brilliant, right? It's all about the power of that Ferrari brain. And it's just really interesting to see the differences.
It's funny you say that too, because a lot of people are in their own industry because they feel comfortable in that scenario. They're amongst their peers. I've been to a handful of comic book conventions in my day, But it's funny because, they're dressed up like, Deadpool or other, like, even like cartoon characters that are on TV now, but they're in their cosplay. But they are extremely happy because that's what...
It's their tribe.
Yeah, and you can't help but, as a human, I think just look for that. Look for who you're comfortable with. And hopefully you're lucky enough to work in that industry that you're comfortable in.
Yeah, and if you're not lucky enough to work in that industry, then certainly in your free time, i.e. the Comic-Con stuff, or for me, it's always been a fitness center or a gym or whatever, to hang around those sorts of individuals that you think you are, even if you're not, or you think you want to become. And of course, if you hang around those groups long enough, you become that, right? You become part of that group or whatever. I know I was looking at a bike group just the other night going, I really want to be in a bike group. I really want to be in a biking team. But then your self-doubt comes in and you go, but they may drop me. But you don't know unless you get out there and try. But then if you get accepted, then you're like, I'm one of the pack, man. And feel good because I'm that way. I want to be a team player. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people get a lot of energy, just like you and Alan do, off each other, from being a team versus doing it on your own. And that's why it's so much fun to be involved in these events and have a spa and things like that involve other people as opposed to just looking at a computer all day, which is not the energies of other people. I think we all thrive on that connection. So I know in Florida, as we wrap this up, in Florida, I think it's the 25th or the 27th is another International Esthetics Spa Convention Expo that Diane and the team will be running that we have to mention that you'll be at probably and I'll be at speaking. Yep. In Fort Lauderdale. So if anybody wants to look it up, you'll see it in the show notes, International Esthetics Spa Conference and Expo. Please come look up me and Greg. We'll be there. And in October, I believe it's the 20th and 21st. I have to double check with Leslie, but that's when we're having our first annual Ageless Energy Conference here in Dallas, where a lot of these mind, body, spirit things we're talking about here with Greg will be on display and be involved with the speakers and people there at the event. So feel free, and again, email us at support@catchfirecoaching.com if you have any interest in that. And we can certainly get you hooked up and show you more interest. And Greg, it's fun as always. And as always, when you and I are talking, y'all are running so fast. I never thought to put a timer on it, but sadly, I had a timer on this today. No fun at all. We'll have to do it again.
Oh, yeah, I know we could have went on for, much longer. Like always, right?
Like always. So I appreciate your time, Greg, of the Day Spa, Med Spa, and the Gravity Man. And, and I just want to be sure that next time we see you, I either want a comic or I want a picture of you either in costume or maybe a picture.
Yeah.
You have such a thing?
Well, I've got the comic. Actually, my buddy Sean, he, signed it and sent me a few, and then he did the same for my boys. He said, so this is your dad, and so... you're going to send us a headshot and a bio and everything for the website, for the podcast and everything. And I thought maybe it'd be good if you also sent your A-list if you had, or maybe it's legal for us to take the picture off Wikipedia here or something. I don't know. I'm sure you could just, instead of my face, you can just use Gravity's because,
Well, no, superhero face is always better than our real faces, right?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
It's what happens when you go to the right spa. You go in one way, go in as AKA Greg, and you come out, hey, I'm Gravity Man. So
exactly, they do. Someone needs to come up with a superhero themed spa, apparently.
Yes. Oh, hey, we shouldn't be talking about this publicly. My gosh, they'll all be doing it tomorrow.
Awesome.
They will be doing. No, you're absolutely right. That would be. Now, talk about fun. It'd be like those escape rooms, which are so much fun. That would be a lot of fun. Well, this will probably be coming out probably like the third week of July. And so they get about time in the third quarter of the year to set up their superhero room, which will start off with Gravity Man. And I'll have to have that to kind of get the kids in a zen-like state while their parents are enjoying the spa. Maybe that's a thought.
There it is.
Well, Greg, once again, I appreciate your time. Had a lot of fun. And we will see everyone for our next guest on the next podcast. Thank you, Greg.
Awesome. Thanks, Chandler.